Welcome to Real Smart, the real estate podcast you've been waiting for. I'm Spencer Kallick, a real estate and land use attorney at Matkins. On this show, I sit down with some of the most dynamic and accomplished voices in real estate to explore trends shaping the industry and uncover what truly sets great leaders apart. Today on Real Smart, we're joined by Eddie Prosser, Principal and Head of Credit and Chief Operating Officer at Thorofare Capital, an LA-based commercial real estate debt management firm with offices all over the country. Eddie has over 2 decades of experience in real estate investment and development and plays a key role in shaping Thorofare's strategy and has been involved in more than $4 billion in loan closings. Ladies and gentlemen, Eddie Prosser, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Spencer. Thanks for having me.
Of course, this is a special edition, our first time taping down here in Orange County, our beautiful Matkins Orange County office. Very excited to have you here. Eddie, so many different things I could chat about. We got to take it back. How did you get into the real estate game? I know you've been on the lending side. You like to play developer. You were a developer. You maybe are still at heart one day developer. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the real estate game.
This really goes back to college. I got my real estate salesperson's license when I was 19. I went to USC. I did the real estate finance and entrepreneurship program. Started by selling apartment buildings, then slowly transitioned over to the development side of the house. Worked for a developer that was backed by Lehman Brothers. Started as their land acquisition guy for Southern California. That later transitioned into a finance and budget management role where I oversaw about 27 active development projects in the Pacific Southwest.
And what shop you were with then?
That was Innovative Communities.
Got it. Okay.
That was a firm that was a Lehman backed.
Not around anymore.
Not around anymore.
But you are, so it's all good.
But was a great place to learn what happens when a good project goes bad. So
you kind of have to learn that, right? To know how to do a good project, you got to know all the problems and then how you solve for them on the front end.
Absolutely. So at Innovative, I got to straddle kind of two sides of the house. One, the deal side, then the asset management, project management, development finance, and then also served in a corporate role, overseeing 3 different divisions from a corporate finance management perspective. I also had a good amount of exposure as well on our commercial side, really serving as a primary underwriting support for the commercial development team. And then the music stopped. One of the sons of that family who owned Innovative, he and I had started to work out at an advisory shop to help with his family's troubled assets. And then that later morphed into some NPL underwriting assignments, and then later to the FDIC, where I became a receiver and resolution specialist.
So you don't hear that every day. Talk a little bit about this. People hate to see like FDIC, they insure my money, but how did you get into that world?
So I was, at the time, I was pretty involved with the Urban Land Institute. And through that, I happened to meet some of the founding members of the West Coast Temporary Satellite Office, which was here based in Irvine. That group grew from about 40 to 50 at the beginning to almost 400 people.
Wow.
And the first time I had applied, I didn't get in. I went through a second interview process about 6 months later and then got in. Got my badge, took the oath to protect the Constitution.
You still have the badge?
No, we
don't answer that question.
Had to give it back.
Okay, fair enough.
And then I was a pretty integral role in the real estate team. So day job was portfolio management. Your weekend jobs were strike team assignments, where you're going in on a Friday night under secrecy, closing down banks. So at Friday at 5 p.m. to Sunday night, you have effectively 72 hours to reconcile the entire books for the bank.
Wild.
Sell it over the weekend. The wires occur on early Monday morning. Then the bank reopens at 8 a.m. on Monday as a new bank. Sometimes the new bank would take the real estate or the loans. A lot of times they didn't. So that was a pretty eye-opening experience and a great opportunity for me to touch every single asset class that you can ever imagine, from farms to Class A office buildings to broken condo projects to apartment buildings, you name it, we touched it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then from there, had you transition to Thorofare. Maybe talk a little bit about what Thorofare is. I assume everybody who's listening knows everything about Thorofare, but if they don't, tell us a bit about your shop.
Sure. So Thorofare is a fund manager. We make loans to developers and investors for transitional real estate projects. And transitional projects, what I mean by that is an individual who's buying an apartment building and he's renovating it and he's increasing the rents, or an office investor who is buying an office or industrial project and leasing it up. And that really goes across all spectrums. Where Thorofare is today, it's come a long way. It started as a small fund structure. That first fund was about $20 million, and then over the years now has grown to about $950 million of equity.
Wow.
Almost 1,800 limited partners.
That's a lot. And who are your traditional investors, roughly? You don't have to name names. I'm curious.
It's every, mom and dad, the family investors, high net worths, a lot of people that come in from wealth management channels, some pensions, some endowments, but mainly it's, an average investor of $300,000 to $400,000. That's putting money into our fund. That's looking for safe, risk-adjusted returns in debt.
And in terms of your kind of general deal size, what's kind of the gamut of things you're seeing come across your desk?
Today, the strike zone is about 35 million is the average loan size, but the minimums are about 20 million to the upper edges of 75 million. Now, we've done some loans up in excess of 75 million and some less than 20 million, but that is kind of the average. So today there's about 50 loans, about 30 million apiece, which represents effectively $1.5 billion.
You're kind of split amongst different asset classes: office, resi, retail, industrial.
You name it. Everything from apartments to data centers to retail, some hotel, not a ton. Mm-hmm. Office buildings, but like medical office. We've recently closed medical office building down the street. Things that are durable, things that can be cycle tested. So,
and don't give away all the secrets, but what's the Thorofare secret sauce? Well, what is it that makes you guys unique in this marketplace where there's lots of lenders, lots of folks looking to, lend? Certainly pref equity these days is kind of the king. What is your niche in that space?
I'd say we have a really strong underwriting team, and that has really afforded us the opportunity to deliver pretty consistent returns through the years. In terms of what we do and what we're lending on, it's about feeling comfortable with an asset or a business plan that if somebody else breaks, that we can fix.
Got it. So you brought it up. Not all business plans go to plan, certainly in this economy. It's been some challenges for borrowers and for lenders. You seem uniquely situated to deal with those difficult situations because you dealt with it for the federal government, you dealt with it for other companies. Talk about how your past experience has informed, what you've seen over the last several years, where, let's be candid, things have been a challenge, not for Thorofare, but just real estate writ large.
You can't control the market, but you can control business planning. You can control thoughtful planning. You can control execution, and you can try to control costs. Not always, but you can try. Part of the ways that, when we look at if there is an asset that is having trouble, we'll go through and we'll look at all the different scenarios that could pan out for us to maximize value. If that's a land deal, we'll look at all the different types of entitlements or things that could possibly be built on a project before we point and pick the direction that we're going to go.
So I know that there's certain rules about what you can and can't say, but any deals that you're really excited about right now, or things that you've been really played a key role in, and now you're seeing that kind of business plan come to life?
Yeah, I can say in without sharing too much.
We don't want the attorneys to get mad at us. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I can say, well, there was an asset that we took back, and there was a big partnership dispute. And with that, we put together the right team of experts, the right architects, And ultimately, we're able to have a resolution that maximized recovery for us, involved looking at all sorts of different hypothetical analysis on what could or couldn't be built there. It involved working with the cities and the municipalities to understand what is palatable for those stakeholders, and looking at all of those different perspectives in order to make an informed business plan.
So that's somewhat unique, right? A lot of lenders, let's be honest, they're lenders, nothing wrong with that, but they're not focused on here, what are all the other exits? They may have underwritten it, but they don't know actually to implement a lot of those plan B, C, D, and E scenarios. That's something that you all, and you particularly, have unique skill set in.
Well, yeah, and not only me, but I'd say the balance of our team. Most of the people who are decision makers from a credit or real estate loan side wore a hat in a distressed part of the cycle, where either they were a bank REO manager, or they were an investment or leasing sale professional, or they brought some other aspect, not just lending, but to be able to thoughtfully reposition an asset, execute on a business plan, and deliver a result. So I think that component is a meaningful differentiating factor to our team that allows us to, I think, really insulate risk and ultimately be able to say no to more deals than not.
And that's unique, right? A lot of people have led a lot, but have not dealt with when things go poorly. And certainly this economy, that's a huge benefit. Unfortunately, no one asked for it, but it's the reality. What are you seeing kind of moving forward, right? We've gone through some of the challenges. Everyone said distress. There's certainly been distress, but not as much as everybody would have you believe there was going to be. What does the next 6 months, year, 2 years look like from where you sit?
As we get into the balance of 2026, I think we're going to start seeing some stabilizing tailwinds across asset classes. It's going to be largely market specific. Every geography has their own cycle. Every asset class has its own cycle.
We're going to start buying a bunch of office, is what you're saying?
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
We're starting to see.
Let's do it.
We're starting to see a lot more off. We're starting to see people that held onto office. We're starting to see more basis reset plays. And when I say basis reset, I mean buildings being traded at what today's market value is, not yesterday's.
Little reality check, yeah.
In multifamily, you've seen construction starts really slow over the last 24 to 36 months. And a lot of that supply that was delivered really rapidly has started to finally absorb. So
we got to build more.
We got to plan more. I don't know if we need to build more right now.
You're telling a land use entitlements attorney that we should be planning for more housing? I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately we actually have to build it. It's not enough just to plan for it.
I agree, but you might need to start planning for some other asset classes as well. Whether that's repositioning older shopping centers to be redeveloped for today's use.
Do you know about my 4 o'clock phone call? Is that what you're saying, that? Or
I might be.
Okay.
I don't know. It might be the same deal. Who knows? Or, for instance, office in many good markets, that's being converted to medical office. And by medical office, I mean amplifying the power of the building, creating access protocols so that patients and doctors don't necessarily have to share the same lobbies and common areas, putting together new surgical centers. I think that across the board from a macro level, I think we're going to see interest rates come in. And as interest rates come in, I think we're going to see value come in. And when that happens, I think we're going to see equity, who has largely sat on the sidelines for the last 10 quarters, re-enter the market. Previously, in the preceding last 10 quarters, those guys have been saying, hey, we're scared to put money in the market. Let's try to put it into debt. Let's try to put it into mezz or pref or something where we can hedge our outcome, but also get it to work. Creating that mid layer of the capital stack and compressing those returns. That's really been the phenomenon that's happened, because even as we look at our business, in Q4, for example, we had 10 transactions, of which 9 of them were refinances, only one acquisition financing.
Interesting.
And that theme is consistent across all lenders.
And not about Thorofare, but just because we're kicking the can down the road.
And people aren't buying because the buying prices aren't right. So to do refinance, it's a lot of those deals that have occurred in the last 2 years have really been a function of bringing new capital to the table, bringing cash in, bringing in a new mezz lender, bringing in preferred equity, something to help right-size that senior loan.
So I want to pivot for a second because I know you personally. I know that you've taken on a new endeavor in addition to a big-time job. You also went back to school. Talk to us about, I know when people go to Harvard, they never like to talk about going to Harvard, but talk to me a bit about your Harvard adventure that you're on.
Yeah, sure. It's a business leadership program designed to help emerging and rising C-suite members anchor themselves more deeply from a leadership role, from a strategic planning, from a presentation, from really all aspects that you need to be able to make the best decisions with many times limited information.
And that's a big commitment, right? I mean, I know we've talked, you've been going back to Boston, you've been, working weekends, nights, late at night on that work as well. But I think it also reflects something that a lot of us who are established professionals don't think about going back to school, or like, oh, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. How have you made the time, and what have you seen almost immediately been the benefits?
Well, in terms of the time, thank goodness it's flexible, and thank goodness I have an understanding wife.
Thank you to having understanding wives. Yes, thank you. Agreed.
Yeah.
Very blessed.
I've been fortunate in that, the class times that they offer typically are well before anyone is awake, or on weekends. So that has been great, with the exception of some of the times on campus. In terms of where and how it's affected me, I think it's really just given me a greater perspective into all the different ways that people can make money in business, and all the different players across the board that really are critical in your businesses, and a deeper appreciation for the people that you serve. And being a leader in an organization, it means caring for everyone and making sure that nobody gets left behind. And so part of the program, I think, really opens your eyes to the responsibility that you have in a C-suite role to your organization.
Interesting. So it's rare in this world that we go back and, certainly in a C-suite level, reinvest in ourselves, reinvest in our knowledge, in our community, in our connectivity. What led you to want to take that step?
I'd say in my 20s, I always wanted to pursue some type of master's or some type of advanced degree, whether it was going to law school or getting...
Yeah, don't do that. Don't go to law school. I could talk you out of that.
Frankly, at the time, I was either too busy or I didn't have enough money.
Sure.
Or the opportunity or the timing just wasn't right. And I happened to come across this hybrid program and had some life events with some close friend who had passed, and that kind of really stirred up some things inside of me to, try to make the best of the time that we have, and how to be the most impactful to not only your work family, but there's also been some great leadership lessons that I've taken away at the home front.
I think it's so impactful, and that's why I wanted to pause on it for a second, because I'm like you, super overprogrammed, work, life, family, kids, softball, basketball, what have you, and it's really hard to reinvest in ourselves, and I really appreciate the fact that you're doing that, and it sounds like it's leading to great results.
And I think that if you continuously reinvest in yourself, that it'll pay dividends. And I don't think enough people go to the gym. I don't think people read enough books. I don't think that people are the best they can be. And I want our team to be the best that they can be. And the only way to do that is to lead by example.
So talk to me about your team, because you're also operating a business. How many folks do you oversee on a daily basis?
The company has 30 people. My role is really anchored around our deal team of investment professionals, which there are about 10, and the accounting and corporate finance team, which there are about 5.
So obviously a big difference between the accounting, corporate finance people and, our friends like Paul and Jacob and others who are out there and, hustling every day. How do you take care of everybody all at once? How do you keep a focus on something that you've adopted either recently or over the years that has made it a focus for you to help build and grow those teams?
Yeah, I credit a lot of my experience today to a role going back to innovative communities. In that role, this goes back almost 20 years now, I had the opportunity to be deal focused. I was a land acquisition guy and a finance guy, right? But then on the separate side of it, I was a corporate finance manager. My roles are really split, I'd say 60% deal focused, which is helping flush through the thousands of opportunities that come in the door.
Yeah.
Our closing ratio, we see 100 deals. We have to process through 100 deals in order to close one.
Wow.
We're a 1% look to book. So highly selective. That is an entirely, difficult and detailed funnel.
Yeah, and how do you do it efficiently and, not spin your wheels?
And how do you set the strategy at the top so that you're efficient the whole way through the flow? Mm-hmm. The corporate finance and accounting team is a different animal. That has a little bit, at least there's a cadence that you can manage to on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis. So when you're going to be stressed. On that side, I'm working through corporate budgeting, the corporate level, fund management and fund reporting, capital inflows and outflows, trying to understand when money is coming back in at the fund level, when we're putting it back out, and working with the deal team and saying, hey, these are the types of deals that we need to get into our portfolio so that we can create a diversified, not only by asset class, but geographically, composition of collateral that we're earning interest on so that our investors can benefit from.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask my Harvard-educated friend here. You got
USC.
USC via Harvard.
No, USC.
Okay, fine, USC. Talk to me about AI. Right, everyone wants to talk about AI. Talk about how it's influencing the lender world, and in particular, Thorofare, and what you're seeing.
So I would say AI is a great tool. There's 100 different ways that you can use it. We are a slower adopter of it. There is something about learning a deal top to bottom by studying the history of the asset. And when I say history of the asset, it's about the financials, looking at the health, looking at the revenue, looking at the expenses, looking at timing, looking at one-time expenses and income versus recurring. Mm-hmm. Looking at, is there deferred maintenance in this building or not? So when you have AI, look at some of those things. You as the one who's presenting it, you don't learn the story. You see a summary. So I'm not a huge proponent of it on our deal team today. I think there are ways that it can enhance your productivity with pulling information in. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to see it right now.
Fair enough.
Because I think I want to have people on my team who are accountable for the information that they're recommending. But I do think that there is a home for it in many places, whether it's presentation material, whether it's graphics, whether they're non-financial related use cases for it. So I think there are good pros and cons. I use it personally, whether it's Gemini or Speechify. Speechify for reading when I'm on long car drives.
It's refreshing to hear because everyone I talk to in real estate is like, oh yeah, AI is changing everything and it's going to completely blow up our business and yada yada. And it's nice to hear a counterpoint because I think that's a talking point. I don't know if that's actually accurate.
AI will enhance productivity, but it cannot replace a relationship. It cannot replace what you and I are doing.
Amen.
It cannot replace someone showing up into their office face to face.
I've been to your office. It's a beautiful office.
Yeah, likewise.
Absolutely.
So the personal touch is and still will be a requirement of real estate go forward, and I don't think that that is changing.
I can wholeheartedly agree with you.
Sure. Can it help me get an email blast out a little faster? Sure, absolutely.
Amen. I'd like to make our marketing team's jobs a little easier if we can. Talk to me about, you mentor a lot of young folks, a lot of the younger analysts on your team. I'm sure you're having conversation with them about AI and what to do and what not to do. What advice do you have for folks who are coming out of USC or newer in this business these days? Because it's a challenging business to be a part of, and there's a lot that's changing quickly. So I'm curious, what do you advise your younger associates?
At the end of the day, it's all about the grind. And those who put in the time will rise to the top.
What's the grind?
There's no shortcuts. It's not using AI. It's reading the footnotes. It's getting into the weeds. It's learning enough about an asset or a business plan or a counterparty so that you can make an informed decision and have an opinion in it, but have an opinion with facts and have an opinion that's supportable, not an opinion that is Google says this or AI says this. I don't want that, and I don't want those guys on my team. We have a very good core of associates and team members that have been with me for a decade plus. And each of those guys, they all have the right mindsets. And some of them may have not had the right skill sets to begin with, but they have the right mindsets. And we can train that, and we can teach that. To make it in real estate and to make it in real estate finance, it just takes time and it takes repetition. It's no different than any other sport. And I like to equate each year to a sport or a season, and I think if you look at your career and the things that you learn along the way, your batting averages will improve, your ERA should improve. If you're a baseball guy,
go Dodgers.
Yeah, go Dodgers. So, there's just
it's a good point. It's something I find, especially with folks that I mentor, that they want to figure out how to get to where I am or to where you are as quickly as humanly possible. And I think, unfortunately, there's too much of a focus these days in our society about, achieving things and hitting the next goal, getting paid more, doing more. It's like, you could get to that place. You get paid more, you could have a higher title. But if you don't know how to actually do the work, the grind, figure out how to really get behind the numbers, how to really figure out a deal from all sides, you might be making more money, but you don't know what you're doing. I think having that experience that you're giving your folks is huge. It's really good advice.
Yeah, and I've seen plenty of people who may make more money than someone else temporarily, but this is a long-term game, right? And so the advice that I give a lot of our younger guys is don't chase the money, chase the experience, chase what you're going to learn. Chase the responsibilities that you're going to have. Chase those types of things that can elevate you and give you great long-term perspective. This is not a short-term. This is not a trade. This is a career.
Agreed. Yeah, 100% agree with what you're saying. Obviously, you've got school, you've got your real estate career. Talk to me about do you have any free time? What do you do in that free time? What's keeping you excited these days?
I love to surf. Surfing is a deep passion I have. So staying active in the ocean.
You get any deals done out on the?
Surprisingly, yeah. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're in Southern California.
Exactly. So you're saying all your borrowers are surfing with you on Tuesday morning?
No, but I can say it's helpful to just have that camaraderie or that
For sure.
local knowledge.
For sure.
in the last couple of years, I've been doing some long distance paddle races.
Wow. Like outrigger canoeing kind of thing?
No, prone, lay down,
Yeah.
paddling with your arms.
Oh, like paddle. Okay, got it.
Yeah, with your arms.
No,
So
really?
I've done the Catalina crossing the last couple of years.
Wow.
It's about a 30-mile ocean paddle for a local foundation called the Ben Carlson Foundation.
Phenomenal.
We've raised a couple $100,000 each of the last couple of years.
Wow.
And so that's been a great organization and a great fundraising opportunity to kind of mesh two things that I'm passionate about is surfing and ocean awareness and ocean safety for a good cause for a local lifeguard who passed just trying to save someone here in Newport Beach.
Wow. Amazing.
That and trying to run, although, I don't get as much time, but
By the way, you were one of the only people I know, because I'd been to your office, who is OG on the walking at the desk. You've got the little treadmill there, always on walking. I know it's very in fashion now, but you were doing it before it was fashionable. So I give you credit for that.
I'm just trying to get my steps in.
I mean, it's important. We're getting older. We gotta stay active.
Well, when we're sedentary for 8 hours a day, at least makes the caloric burn pick up a little bit.
Amen. So you've got enough going on. What are you not doing that you want to be doing? What are you not spending time on, either in your personal life, in real estate world, in mentorship, that you're not able to do? And what would that look like?
I'm probably not spending enough time with my family, which I should be, but with the time I do spend, it's impactful. So trying to focus in on that and really trying to be present when I'm home is
quality over quantity is discussion in my house. It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to turn it off. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what about with your team? If you could spend more time with your team, employing all the things you've learned at Harvard and in your past experiences, what would that look like?
As I think about it, I'd encourage maybe more of our team to really focus on engineering their days. And when I say engineering their days, I mean time management, finding ways to remove a middleman out of a conversation, trying to get to the answer quick enough, thinking about steps or process improvement that can help the organization, whether it's at the deal level or departmentally, to work more efficiently and with more ease.
I think that's an amazing place to stop. I really appreciate, Eddie, you making the time today, managing your schedule to be able to join us here, and just your honesty and your thoughtfulness. And I think you had a lot of really good nuggets of things for people who are listening to this to hold on to. Maybe you'll get an email, a phone call, a text. People want to follow up with you, or maybe you're going to get a bunch of people who want to come work at Thorofare or send you new deals. But really appreciate you taking the time and the friendship.
Well, I appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
The content of this podcast is for the general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship between you, the host, guest, or Alan Matkins. You should not act or rely on any information discussed without first consulting a qualified attorney regarding your specific situation. Any opinions expressed are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily reflect the views of Alan Matkins or its clients.